So, Cam, what's one kind of critical moment in your journey that you look back on now as a moment that pushed you in the kind of direction that you're currently in and the journey that you're currently on? What's that one moment? Everyone I've spoken to has one kind of crystal clear moment for them. What's yours?
Oh, yeah, I don't even hesitate to think about what that moment is. So, at a certain point in my life, I had an itch to write. It was an overpowering itch that I couldn't resist. I didn't know where this itch came from because I was never a writer. I never liked writing. In fact, I sucked at writing. Yeah, so, you know, I moved to the US when I was 7 years old. So, I didn't even learn English until maybe until 7, 8, 9, as I was here for a few years, which is why I wasn't the best in the language and the writing aspect of things. I was much stronger in math and science. In fact, all the tests I accelerated in, and oftentimes I was maybe a year ahead in those subjects compared to my peers. But And so I obviously, I became an accountant, left brain, logical, all that stuff. I was doing accounting. And like I said, I just had this overpowering itch. And I followed it. And I decided to write my first book, which was called Mind Tools. And it wasn't that good of a book because I wasn't a good writer at the time. And I was so embarrassed by that book. I never published it. I didn't even talk about it. And in fact, I had like pushed it so deep into my unconscious, I forgot that that was my first starting point into writing. Just because I was so embarrassed about it, I didn't talk about it. But that was really the thing that catalyzed, where it was just this overpowering itch that I had at a certain point in my life where I needed to write. And I'm glad I took it because although in the beginning I wasn't the best, I stuck with it. And now I've written over a dozen books, gotten over 10,000 ratings on Amazon. So it was a really good and trusting myself to move forward with that.
And you say you kind of like embarrassed by that first book. What was it after that made you think I'll do it again and I'll write another book? What was it that kind of pushed you instead of thinking, oh no, that was rubbish? Because a lot of people might just shy away from it when they think, oh that was rubbish. So
Yeah,
what was it that pushed you on?
yeah. So after I wrote the book, I kind of gave it to a couple of people to read, and I got one person said it was good. Another person who was a really good writer, whose writing I trusted, said, "Cam, like you're not a good writer. Like you need to develop the skill of writing." And that hurt. That was like a dagger to the heart. And then my roommate at the time said he was telling me what could be improved, and then I asked him, "Well, as it is, like, if you paid money for it, would you find value?" He said, "No." And I don't know if he said no out of jealousy or what, but again, it was like the dagger to the heart, and just based on 2 people's opinions, I kinda shut it down. I shut it out, and I didn't even think about it. And then what happened is Amazon started allowing this is when self-publishing was first starting. Amazon was allowing people to essentially publish books on their own. Now you didn't have to go through the publisher or a gatekeeper to prove to yourself that you're worthy of having written a book and that you were worthy of having a publisher pick it up. And so what I did is I took a couple chapters from the book and I kind of expanded them into their own mini books and I just threw it on Amazon. And I got a lot of, like, positive reviews. I was kinda surprised. And that was a thing that said, "Okay, I have a voice," or, "This is worth pursuing because people do like what I have to say." So that was really it. And then what was really great about Amazon, at the time especially, is you didn't have to have a full book, like a full 200-page book. They were really open to allowing people to publish most anything, even if it had like grammatical errors and stuff like that. And so I would throw out these shorter content or ideas that I was working through, and I would get feedback from it. and oftentimes it was positive. So then I would expand the books, and my books grew as I grew. And that really helped me to kind of, continue pursuing it. Both initially getting the positive feedback after taking two people's comments and deciding that that was enough to know that this wasn't going to work, getting positive feedback, and then having a platform where I didn't have to spend so much time to make sure everything was perfect, where I could just kind of let's test ideas and see if it would take, and then being able to expand on it.
It's good that you took the step to put something out on Amazon to get that good feedback. I think a lot of the time, um, people put something out there and they might even get 10 people giving good comments on it,
Yeah,
and then there's that one person that says no, this is rubbish, and then they only ever concentrate on the negative, don't they? So
yeah,
it's kind of good to get that good reinforcement when
yeah,
you're pushing things out. What I found interesting, just circling back to the first question that I had, what I found interesting when you were talking was you felt it was like just this itch that you had
yeah,
to write. It's an itch that you had to scratch, and I kind of know that feeling. So I had something very, very, very similar when I was younger. Back in 2012, it was. I was with some friends in our apartment, and all of a sudden my friend just came out with like this map of the world and just rolled it out on the floor in front of us and said, right, where are we going? And ever since that moment was just, I have to do this.
yes,
There's no kind of two ways about it. It was like a physical pull. I have to go traveling the world. So I really kind of resonate when you were saying then it was just an itch that you
yeah.
had to scratch. It's just, yeah, it's strange when you do find that one thing, almost kind of becomes a mission, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah. And it's interesting because a lot of times there is resistance when we have that one itch because we push up against our internal stuff like, can I do this? Am I qualified to do this? Who do I think I am to do this? Because, like I said before, I'd never written a book. I wasn't a good writer. I didn't really do well in my English classes. And it's, well, like, are people gonna like what I have to say? Are they gonna judge me for trying something where, in my mind, or a voice in my head was saying, do I even have the credentials to be able to do this? And so, yeah, that is kind of the interesting part about the itch is because we do get an itch, but sometimes people will not follow it or put it to the side because they don't feel like they deserve it, that they have the skill for it, that they have somehow earned it, or that they have the credentials for it.
And um is there like a tool that you use yourself to help you with that, overcoming that kind of internal resistance?
Yeah, well, internal resistance is a big topic, which is a topic that I talk about right now. And to really understand resistance, it helps to understand that the part of the brain that creates wants and desires works separately from the part that allows us to act on the desire. So we have one part of the brain that's responsible for the wants, and more or less it's creating endless wants one after another at a pace faster than anyone can achieve. And then we have another part that checks to see if we should do that want. And it's the part that gives us the green light to act on that want. And this is the part that checks to see if we have the time, energy, and resources. So a great analogy would be our wanting mechanism is like a kid in a candy store. It just wants everything. And our resistance is a parent that's trying to keep the kid in check. And so, yes, when we do have wants, it'll filter through a part of our brain that says, hey, wait a minute, let's see if this is going to be useful, helpful, fulfilling, all of that. And what it does is it goes through a whole list of items. And if if what we're wanting to do is not in line with any of the items, it'll prevent action. And the list of items are pretty extensive. Some of the more commonly known things include beliefs, habits, and comfort zones, but they get much deeper. Is what we're trying to do going to push up against our authority issues? Is it in line with our feelings of deserving? We have this concept in psychology called inner child, where the inner child, if we're getting success, our inner child can feel abandoned and it will sabotage us. And what I've learned from this work is there's like over 25 to 30 criteria a mind goes through. And so it really helps to, hone in on what it is that's holding us back and work on that issue itself. A lot of times people try to take a one fit all approach to
Mm,
overcoming their blocks. And it doesn't necessarily work. It can work for some people because that approach is hitting up on the exact issue that they have. But if a person's issue is something different, that solution may not work. And in fact, some solutions are so like let's say we're one of our issues are authority issues. The solution we use to work through authority issues may not work for, let's say, inner child. In fact, it could be counterintuitive. So it's really understanding complexities. And I know that's not a great answer someone can apply, but there's also a very easy technique that I have found to be extremely useful in my life. And when somebody just wants something simple that really works on all facets, I give them these two self talk statements. I'm a do it now person. I easily do things now. I easily accomplish my goals right away. And I'm deserving, have permission, and I'm having good things. And I'll quickly talk about the psychology between of those two statements. The first one is essentially creating an identity and self image that you're a do it now person. So when a desire comes up, it filters through our brain, and the brain goes, well, I'm a do it now person, so of course I'll do it. And the second phrase of that statement is I easily do things now. And the reason I added that is because doing can be painful. The more we do things, it can create strain and stress. But by saying I easily do things now, it makes our doing a lot easier. And then the final part is the key, which is I easily accomplish my goals right away because it's easy to do a lot of things and not go anywhere. And so the last part helps the brain focus on an end result. And then the second statement, I deserve, have permission, and I'm having good things. So a lot of our challenges comes down to deserving. Like a lot of people deep down don't feel deserving of the success or the thing that they're trying to do. Although consciously they may feel like they deserve it, but deep down there's a core. This deserving is so deep that we don't notice it playing in our lives. And so the first phrase of the second sentence helps to counteract that. The second phrase, I have permission, is huge because ever since we were kids, we have been told what to do, what not to do, when to do it, how to do it. So it conditioned the brain to always receive permission. And what I notice in my work, working with clients and even in my own journey, is that people will spend a lot of money going to coaching, seminars, and events, literally to have someone give them permission to do what it is what they're wanting. Like at the core
mm.
of why a lot of people are doing this is just seeking permission. And so this gives them self permission. And the last part, I'm having good things. People can replace it with I'm having great things, I'm having amazing things, or whatever it is they want, because it puts the brain into the mode of receiving it. And so with these two statements, I'm a do it now person. I easily do things now. I easily accomplish my goals right away. I deserve, have permission. I'm having good things. If a person repeats it, it will change the inner wiring that will allow them to do more things and, more importantly, achieve more things.
Yeah, there's a couple of things I want to pick up on there. One, it's so interesting um, that you talk about permission
Yes.
and people wanting permission, because I was just interviewing one of our launch guests, Emma Jane Sanford, and she says one of the biggest feedbacks that she gets from her clients is that um, she gives them permission to try and do what it is that they want to do and want to get out of life. So having two of you within like just a couple of days of each other kind of talking
Yeah.
about that as really kind of resonates and hits home. And I think coming full circle to what you're talking about there is obviously a lot of self-talk and talking to yourself in a nicer way. And there was I cannot remember the podcast it was. It might have been Diary of a CEO, or it might have been Modern Wisdom podcast. But they were saying if I talked to my friends how I talk to myself,
So,
I would
yeah.
have no friends. 'Cause people are so critical,
So
self-critical to
critical.
themselves.
Yeah.
It's quite scary. And I didn't even realize myself until I heard that statement. And then I tried
Yeah.
to notice what I was saying to myself as well. And it kind of really hits home when you start to take notice of what you're kind of saying
Yeah.
to yourself. It's quite stark, really.
Yeah. So a lot to unpack here. One, the permission thing, it's not getting a lot of attention or conversation, but it's huge. It's one of the deep things that are people holding back. It's holding people back and something people are really seeking. And like I said, people will hire coaches because what they're really seeking is permission. And you just kind of validated that what this coach is doing is just giving them permission to do what these clients are wanting. And the self-talk piece is big because, a lot of the thoughts in our heads, because they're in our heads, we think we're thinking them. And because we think we're thinking them, we think they're true. And because they've been going on for so long, it just seems valid. Like they think it's a reality. They don't even question it because that's just what's been there. And it validates a lot of their beliefs and feelings of undeserving. And which is why I also am a big proponent of self-talk. I don't think self-talk is getting as much attention right now, but it should because, I work with people who've done their work. They go to seminars, they have positive thinking and all of that, but they're still not moving forward or it feels like the movement is really slow. And a lot of times people confuse positive thinking with self-talk. And on the surface, they seem like they're the same thing, but it's a huge distinction. Positive thinking is seeing the bright side of situations, more or less seeing the glass half full. And it's good. We want to have positive thinking, but the next level is self-talk. Self-talk is actually repeating and saying positive statements. And that's going to be different because as we repeat those statements of the direction we want to go in, those statements actually go in our head and start turning the wheel in different ways that create the actions that are going to help us get there. In fact, for me, self talk has been huge. I think one of the key drivers for my success, the things I've been able to do, was always creating a set of statements around what I wanted to achieve and repeating it. For example, I picked up dance recently, and for somebody who has two left feet and no rhythm, it was kind of difficult to to do. And then, I took a couple private lessons, and I kind of realized what I needed to do with dance, and I turned it into a self-talk statement. And it's, I'm an excellent dancer. I easily pick up moves. I'm an excellent dancer. I learn and pick up moves easily. I remember all the moves and execute them with precision and control. I maintain proper frame, hand position, and move my body and partner to the rhythm and beat of the music. Now, to try to condition myself to do all of that would have taken a lot of effort and time. But I turned it into a statement that I repeated regularly. The messages started seeping in, and I was able to act it out much more easily. Now, granted, it wasn't magic where repeated the statement and I was doing it, but it made the process so much easier. And I was a writer for a long time, and writing is a big endeavor, especially prior to ChatGPT when I wrote most of my books. And so it could take months and years to write a book. So a lot of my time went into the skill of writing, and I was developing the skill of writing and not so much talking. So when it was time to get out of my shell and start marketing myself, like doing podcasts like this and getting on stages, I wasn't a good communicator because I didn't really develop that skill. And when I wanted to, I created a set of statements. I'm an excellent communicator. I easily communicate my thoughts, ideas, feelings, experiences, and more. I can write about and verbalize anything. And when I started repeating those things, it helped me to be communicate better. And I'm not saying I'm perfect, But, when I do these podcasts and when I do speak, people are like, wow, you're so clear, it makes sense, and things of that nature. And I do owe it to my foundation of the self talk. In fact, I am such a big proponent of self talk. I said I've written over a dozen books. Almost every book, I dedicate a chapter to self talk because it can help us in so many areas. Like in my memory book, I offer self talk statements like I'm an excellent memory. I have an excellent memory. I easily remember names, dates, facts, and anything I choose. And I have a list of other self talk I offer them. In my other books, I'll also have self talk, like the concentration book. The first technique I offer is self talk. And the reason my go to is self talk is because when we're dealing with resistance, we want to do little things that get big results, little actions that we can take that allow us to take the bigger things that are going to move the needle forward. And more or less, self talk is the simplest thing we can do to get to create the changes that we want. It's so simple. All we have to do is repeat a set of statements. It doesn't get any more simpler than that. It's so simple. We could do it while laying in bed, cooking, cleaning, showering, while driving. I recommend people do that in all those times because I do it in all those times. And you'll just be surprised how things just naturally start shifting in your life just from repeating the statement.
And just on this technique of having these statements, do you have to say them out loud as well, don't you? You can't just think it. You have to say it out loud to yourself, don't you?
Well, when it comes to self talk, there's levels. So if you say it in your head, it's better than not saying it at all. If you say it out loud, much better. And you'll notice that things come much quicker. And if you can say it out loud and you say it in belief, that's one step higher. And if you say it out loud, say it in belief and with positive emotion, that's higher. And the reason I give these levels is because the optimal is to say it out loud in belief and in positive emotions, but not a lot of people are there. Even it took me a while to get to that point. But I don't want people to not do it because they can't do it in the optimal level. As long as they're even just repeating it in their head, it's going to be huge. And again, it's something that we can do at any time in our heads. So if we're waiting in line, saying something out loud like that would kind of draw awkward attention, but there's no reason why they can't say it in their head. Maybe if they're in the shower, sure, say it out loud. But if they're in bed with their partner and in the morning they want to repeat the statements and it might disturb their partner, then say it in their head. But the key is to say it, which is going to be different than positive thinking, which is just seeing things on the bright side, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think the more they say it as well, it helps with that getting to that stage of saying it and
With
believing
belief.
it as well.
Yeah.
Because I know a couple. So I started doing kind of statements like that myself. And I know the first couple of times I started saying them, I was like, feel like
Yeah.
such an idiot.
You do feel
Um,
like it, and then it feels awkward, and it feels so awkward that you don't even want to continue.
yeah,
And and I had to interrupt because this is really important. A lot of times people ask me like, "So how do I know what my resistance are?" You told me that there's all these things. Well, one of the easiest ways is with self-talk. So you can create a statement of a change that you want to have or have happen, and then start repeating that statement quickly. So let's just go to the statement of I have an excellent memory. I can remember anything I choose. So as you start repeating that statement, your brain will say, no, you don't. You have a bad memory. And then it'll probably trigger memories of moments where you forgot things. Well, those are your resistance that are going on inside you. Those are telltale signs of what's going on that's going to hold you back from the thing that you're trying to achieve. So, yeah, in the beginning, it's going to be awkward, but at least you're going to get ideas of what is going on for you internally regarding this thing that you're trying to succeed with. But again, if a person continues, eventually those negative stuff stop and you do start feeling more positive and in belief.
it's as you were talking, then I was thinking in my head, it's very similar to something I do with my clients as well. When I'm asking them what it is that they want, and what do they want from life, what's their kind of big vision, and what's their impossible dream. And a lot of time they go, well, I've got no idea, no clue whatsoever. And I look at it as that, well, we have two kind of thought pathways of thought. Really, we have our discontent and our longing. So
Yeah,
if you're struggling to think of what your longing is, look at what you're currently in discontent with, and if you're struggling to understand what your discontent is, look what your longing is. What is it you want? So it kind of really hit home then when you're talking about the just say this and what kind of triggers in your head to think the
yeah,
opposite, and figure out the resistance from there.
yeah.
Um, we're just taking it taking the conversation a bit further forward now, Cam. Is what's kind of currently your mission, so to speak? What's your kind of purpose? What's your big dream and big adventure with what you're doing now?
You know, the big dreams or the big callings, they're hard to communicate because they can sound so big and outlandish. Again, I guess it's that self-talk. You say it, and then the part of the mind goes, "I think that might be too big. I don't think it's gonna happen." I started my journey, I guess, in the entrepreneurial space or in the personal growth space as an author. So I've written over a dozen books in the area of mental performance. And then I started talking about a concept called internal resistance, which we're kind of touching on. It goes much deeper, which more or less answers a question. Why is it if I want to do something, I know what to do, I know how to do it, and I have the motivation to do it, but for some reason I can't do it? So this is what I would kind of be into over the last half decade. And most recently, I had developed a technique, which I call the Kam Knight Method, that I had been using in my own journey, and I found that it was really effective in others, not only in healing trauma, PTSD, bad breakup. The way I describe it, it's like 2 years of therapy in 2 hours. And that's what I'm focusing on now. That's kind of like where I've pivoted into almost full time or going all in on. And, I'm working with people on a very deep level. I take them to their unconscious. We work through some, really deep events and repressed events and things that have a lot of emotional charge. And I'm finding that we humans are traumatized, and a lot of it's generational. It's like through generations. So what I'm coming to, although it may seem like a big thing, is healing humanity.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice.
But
I
it
love it.
just, yeah, it does sound very like a big thing as I say it. Like, what's my vision? Heal humanity. It's a big thing. And so even right now, as I say it, it's like, okay, wow.
Well, I always think if it doesn't sound impossible, then it's not worth going for.
Okay, good. Because that's what it's feeling like. And that means I'm on the right track, is what you're saying. So that was a good affirmation that I needed.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So take us into that mission a bit more then, in terms of where where you help people, and how you're helping people, if you're okay to talk about that.
Yeah, sure. So what I realize in my own work is, when we look at traditional therapy or counseling, it focuses on the past. It takes you back to work on, past traumas and events, to help you be able to move forward easily. And then traditional self development focuses on the future. It's about where you are and where you want to go and having a direct line to get there. And I am finding that they're both great, but they're not getting people the results because we need to focus on both. Like if we focus only on the future, resistance from the past holds us back. And if we focus only on the past, we don't have a clear direction, kind of like how you're helping your clients figure out what it is they truly want that guides them in a forward direction. And so a lot of my work previously with my books and my internal resistance was helping people move forward. But then I started seeing that you can give a person all the tips, you can have all the clarity, they can um, create a really great environment for success, and they'll still have challenges or struggles because we're not working on the past. And so that's what this technique does. I help people do is I take people into their unconscious and we work in the unconscious. And the reason I do that is because in my own journey, I work with a lot of coaches and therapists and things of that. I found that everyone was kind of telling me what my issue was. They're like, oh, it's because you have limiting beliefs, you need to do this, or you got to work on your identity, you need to do that. And without really getting to know me, they were telling me what my issue was and the solution. And I would, as best as I could, I followed their advice, but I was still stuck and struggling. And so I realized if our issues in our head, why not go there for the answers? And given all the different work I've done, the things I've learned, I kind of figured out a way to help people go into their unconscious. And it may seem like an easy thing, but it's difficult because there isn't a direct line of communication between the conscious and unconscious mind. Much of the unconscious is hidden from us, which is why it's called the unconscious. And so it's hard to see how our unconscious patterns are affecting our conscious thoughts as well as behaviors. In fact, if a person hasn't done a lot of personal development, they might just think that they're the ones thinking the thoughts that they are, and they're the ones deciding on the behavior, but it's really run by what's going on underneath. And if we can tap into that, people can actually see it. And it's much easier to help people move forward when they themselves see it inside them versus another person trying to explain to them or trying to tell them and things of that nature. And I work primarily on the emotional level because what I realize is a lot of our challenges have an emotional charge. But personal development, they talk a lot about beliefs. Well, beliefs are not statements in our head. They're actually a feeling that it's a feeling of like I'm undeserving or I'm not enough or I don't matter. And a lot of what we want to do filters through those feelings. And if we can reduce the charge around the feelings or reduce the feelings, they have a less of a hold on us. And the reason I bring up the emotion part, it's really important because emotions aren't getting a lot of attention. You talk about mind, body, and soul and things like that, but there isn't a lot of conversations around emotions. And if it is, it's really more on emotional intelligence, understanding emotions and managing them versus going in and releasing them. And it makes sense why, because our emotions are difficult to access. And let me know if I'm rambling too much, like just trying to give as much, info as possible.
You're good.
And yeah, okay, great. And that's because of the defense mechanism. So we all have a defense mechanism, right? But at the most basic level, what is it protecting us from? Is it mistakes? Is it failures? Is it rejection? Is it death? Well, what I found is that the most basic fundamental level is protecting us from pain, whether that's physical pain, mental pain, or emotional pain. And our defense mechanism doesn't reason or use logic. It doesn't say, oh, this pain will be helpful for our growth, so we'll continue it. Or this is painful, necessary for healing, like healing pain. It's a simple on off switch where wherever there is pain or potential for it, block. So when we have unpleasant emotions that want to come up, the defense mechanism's natural and automatic, non thinking reaction is just to block it. And so then the emotions want to come up even more. Defense mechanism tries even harder to block it. And so a lot of times we can have an unconscious drain going on, affecting our life, sometimes creating havoc without us knowing. And that's one of the reasons why it's difficult to work with emotions because of the defense mechanism. But with what I do is I help people disengage that defense mechanism to allow these emotions to come out. And once they can sit with, process, and release it, it's like a lot of their challenges magically go away, like including the severe trauma as well as things like PTSD, bad breakups. And the reason I say bad breakups is because there's a lot of painful emotions around breakups. And if we can release that, people can move on from the breakup much more easily, even though it seems like they could never, or it feels like it would take a long time to get over this.
Mm. The mind to me is absolutely fascinating. It blows my mind. You were talking then about the unconscious kind of running our thoughts. I
Yeah,
read somewhere um, that our life we run on a daily basis. 80 to 90% of our time we're run by habits, and
yeah,
our habits are created by our subconscious or unconscious. And so we're basically living 80 to 90% of our life via our unconscious. So it's like you say, it's so important. Those statements, like you say, kind of rewire your brain and seep into that unconscious and
yeah,
subconscious. So it's so important to work on these things, but it's so hard to. It's not exactly a quick fix thing. It's something people really have to work on. So
yeah,
what you're doing there sounds amazing. So yeah, I really do wish you all the best with everything that you're going to be doing there. And just thinking, because you've given so much value here, I feel like we're going to have you back on to talk about more things, because there's a lot to unpack in everything you've said here. So,
yeah,
um, kind of to round things off at the moment, what's one piece of, so someone's at a kind of crossroads in their life. They know
yeah.
they've got that itch. That's something that they want to do. That journey that they want to take, but they're not quite sure whether they should take that leap. What's one piece of advice that you would give that person just to help them take that leap and take that unknown, that step into the unknown?
Yeah. So there's a very simple way to take action, and it's something that I have used myself. And that's how I've written a dozen books. I've traveled to over 100 countries. And it's something that gets talked about a lot, but people don't really fully appreciate the effectiveness, is just to take it one step at a time. So when I wanted to write my first book, it was an overwhelming endeavor. I was pushing up against a lot of resistance, such as the undeserving, such as the imposter, such as the feelings of being a fraud. Could I do it? Do I have the time to do it? And instead of focusing so much on having this book done, I just focused on just showing up and writing every day. That's really it. So, and then that's the approach I took with the other books. Anytime I wanted to write a new book, I had a vision of what I wanted to write about and more or less of how I wanted that vision to unfold. But once I had the vision, I put it in the back burner. I didn't think about it. I didn't worry about it. I just showed up every day to write. And the same thing with, traveling to 100 countries, such a big endeavor. I didn't have a big goal to do it, but I just took it one country at a time. And eventually I got to the 100 countries. So if somebody has that itch and they're kind of not sure if they should pursue it, if it'll work or whatever, don't focus on the end result or the outcome. Just focus on taking it one day at a time. And if a person does that, they'll be surprised how much easier it is and how much actual help and support that there actually is out there for them. It's like wild because when we start something new, we feel like we're on our own and we have to do it on our own, then there's going to be no one to help us. But it's wild as soon as you start, sometimes like the floodgates of help start coming in. And I'll give a great example. Recently, I started wanting to get more out and get myself out and talk more. Like podcasting is one, and I've been doing quite a few podcasts. But I actually wanted to start my own events or do my own. And I just came from a networking event, and I asked the woman who ran the event. I'm like, hey, I wanted to do something like this. How can I do it? And she's like, oh, talk to Rick and he'll help you out. I want to talk to Rick. He's like, okay, let's figure out what you can do and we can promote it to this group. I mean, that was it. I was like, oh my gosh, it was just so easy. Like they already got the group. And then I'm like, oh, this is amazing. This is very helpful. If you need anything, let me know. And he's like, what I need is people to do more events. And so it just worked out. Like you know? So sometimes it could be that easy, and all it takes is just taking a step. I didn't go out saying, "Okay, I gotta find a venue, I gotta promote, and I gotta do all this stuff." I just took one step and asked somebody who was hosting an event what I needed to do, and very quickly it kind of went that way.
Yeah, that really resonates with me. One of the best pieces of advice I've ever heard is show me your five closest friends and I'll show you the rest of your life.
Yeah,
So kind of surround yourself with people who are where you want to be. Um, that kind of really resonates, and
yeah.
sometimes it could be so simple. It's like
So
why was I
simple, yeah.
fretting over this?
I know. And I wanna riff on that. That is huge. People don't realize it, but it is huge. In fact, the amount of time I spend on control not con I don't wanna use the word controlling, but being conscious of about the people who I'll allow into my life. Like, I will cut people out, especially my family members. They're acting and behaving in ways that is not conducive to where I wanna be and the direction I wanna go. I will let them know. And I have done that in the past. And the reason I say it is because it's really, really important of who you associate with. And I actually have a saying, if you can control the people you allow into your life, the rest becomes easy.
Yep, yep, absolutely. Couldn't agree more with that. Um, Two final questions, if I may.
Please.
One is, what's been your favorite country so far?
Okay. So I've got my top five.
Yeah, go.
All right. So it's going to be five is Ethiopia, four is Turkey, the third is New Zealand, the second is Venezuela, and the first is Colombia. And I'll just give a really quick reason for why. All of them, all of the countries that are on the list is because of multiple reasons. The food, the culture, the people, the history. I mean, people have been really amazingly nice in Colombia and Venezuela. And, countries like Turkey and Ethiopia have such a rich and expansive history. In fact, the first settlement where humans first started settling was in Anatolia in Turkey. And so Turkey is just like amazing for the rich history from the Roman Empire to the Turkish Empire and even the start of civilization. And New Zealand's the only country on the list just because of the nature. Like the the nature everywhere in the world is amazing, but in New Zealand is just like a little bit better than anywhere else. And so so New Zealand's on the list just for their nature. But yeah,
Um, I cannot tell you how jealous I am. When we went traveling, we've gone for the year, and we did plan to go to Australia and New Zealand. And I actually had a job lined up on a farm in New Zealand, so just working on the farm. But I
yeah,
couldn't afford the flights to get out there, so I went home instead. And I've never been. I've never been. So
you
it's
missed it. It's
one place that was on my list as a I have to go there. I have to go there, and I just never made it. So I'm determined that I've got that itch. It is on my list. But if you like New Zealand for the kind of beauty and the majesty of the place, then I cannot recommend Norway enough. The fjords
yeah.
of Norway. Oh my lord!
Norway is ridiculous. It's
Yeah,
ridiculous. In fact, I remember I was hitchhiking and a mother and a daughter picked me up and I was talking about the fjords and they're like, "Why does everyone talk about fjords of Norway? Like, what's so special about it?" I'm like, "It's because what you have is doesn't exist anywhere in the world." Like the word
yeah.
fjord is didn't even used anywhere in the world because they don't exist. And so they didn't even realize what they had was just so ridiculously amazing because they just grew up to it. And what's more is, when you go to Sweden, which is right next door to Norway, none of that.
No,
Uh, and
a lot of
so
woods. There's a lot of woods there.
a lot of woods, yeah. And so it's wild how there's this unique place, Norway, that just has these amazing, amazing, amazing fjords that are like epically beautiful.
Yeah, all these pictures. They're all they're all Norway. You can tell I
Okay.
absolutely love the place.
But you're close enough that you can kind of visit quite a bit, huh?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
absolutely,
Did
absolutely.
you
I
go to
fell in
like
love with that place.
oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
You okay? Go on.
Did you go to like Trolltunga and
Yep,
okay.
yep. Pulpits Rock. Yeah,
Yes. Yes, I have a picture of that. Oh, I love that.
yeah, I
Uh,
do as well.
did you
We
actually
were,
you climbed onto it?
yes, yep. And did you go to? Is it which is the one where it's just like a square platform that's like 600 meters up. I can't. It's just a rock that's in the shape of a square. I can't remember what it's called, but we were sat on the edge of that. It's just a sheer drop of 600 meters, and in the corner they've got like a metal spike that's been driven into the rock for climbers and abseilers. And there's this guy, and he's just hanging onto it, dangling over the edge. I'm like, oh my God, what are you doing? And he's just doing it for a picture, just for a picture. And he's like, oh my God. I was terrified just sitting there with like the edge of my legs hanging off. And he's literally hanging
I
off with one hand.
I laugh because I did a lot of that just for the pictures. Like the things I've done just for the pictures. Oh my gosh. Uh,
And final question then. You mentioned you've got 12 books.
yeah.
Um, someone who's new to yourself then, Cam, which is the first book of yours they should read?
Okay. Well, if I was gonna recommend what they should do, I think my one-on-one where I do the technique would be the best because that's why I'm doing it now. But in terms of my books, I think it would be best to start with speed reading, learn to read a 200-page book in 1 hour. I know it's a big claim, but I feel I can deliver something very close to it. There are techniques in that book that can help people quickly double to triple their reading speed and improve their comprehension as well as memory of what they've read in like minutes. Because I like focusing on things that are easy to pick up and easy to apply because we just don't have time to like develop skills. And that book is it's put a lot of time into it. The reason I recommend this book is not only because it'll help people read the other books faster, but it goes deep into how to understand and pick up information people are communicating. Because we think it's just about reading the paragraphs and that's it. But there's a lot of intention that writers have when they're writing a book or putting together content. And unless we understand that, we might think we're understanding the message, but not really. That's really important because, in order to grow, we need to learn. And in order to learn, we need to know the right ways to learn. In our time now, quicker ways to do it. And that book is going to be the one. And I do believe it's one of those things that can help them quickly accelerate their reading speed in a matter of minutes. And once they have that, then they can get through the other books, not only faster, but able to understand and remember it more and longer.
I'm so glad you said that bit about it helping you understand what's being written because I am so slow at reading, but I also have to kind of go back and reread
Yes.
things quite a few times to make sure I'm kind of understanding what's being talked about.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I might have to add that one to
Yeah.
my list.
Yeah. That's key because a lot of times when someone is giving an example, like, I'll share a story and it may seem like the story is the point, but really the story was trying to give an example or to validate a bigger point that was being made. And sometimes it's easy to see examples, anecdotes, and things of that nature and think that's the point. But really, there's a bigger message that's being communicated. And if we miss that, we kind of really miss the point of the text or the author's intention.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
that's me all over.
Yeah. So that's going to be the book for you.
Yeah.
And if it helps to give a little bit more motivation why they should get it. It's gotten over 5,000 ratings on Amazon across the different markets on Amazon, whether UK, US, and all the other markets that Amazon is distributing that book to. So it's definitely vetted. If it wasn't delivering on the promise, people wouldn't be, leaving such positive remarks on it.
Well, exactly. It's like people can find a group of people to rate their book, can't they? But to
Yeah,
have thousands of people, it obviously means it's a good product. Yeah, congratulations on that, and thank you, Kam, for coming on. It's been a fascinating conversation, and like I say, I think we'll probably have to have you back on if you're willing to talk about other things more in depth on the traveling, definitely, because
yeah,
that really is my bag. 100% have you back on, and thank you very much. We'll put all your kind of links in the show notes, but where's
sure.
the main place you want people to reach out to you if they kind of resonated with everything you've said?
Yeah, they can reach out to my website, kamknight.com, KAMKNIGHT.com. That's where all my books are. That's where my course I talked about, internal resistance. It's a really deep dive into understanding how our wants work as well as how resistance work, but more importantly, how the tricks of resistance keep us from moving forward in life. And if they want to work with me one-on-one, they could just email me at mentor, mentor, at kamknight.com.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Kam. Cheers. Have you ever felt like business should be more than numbers and deadlines? Like there's an entire world to explore beyond your office walls? Is adventure calling your name? I'm Ian Whitehead, and I'm your guide on Uncharted, the Entrepreneur's Adventure podcast, where I bring you real stories from visionary leaders who've built empires and climbed literal mountains. Because success isn't just about the bottom line, it's about the thrill of taking risks, the courage to pursue what truly lights you up, and the freedom to chart your own course. Each week we'll dive deep into the minds of boundary-pushing entrepreneurs and adventurers, revealing how they found purpose in the chaos and discovered their true north, both in business and beyond. So, if you're ready to break free from the ordinary, embrace bold action and inject a little more adventure into your life, welcome to Uncharted. Your journey starts here.